Hi friends of Sailing Vessel Easy. I think it's really time for a new video. So let me mix some old stuff and some actual stuff and tell you all the latest news from Sailing Vessel Easy. Today is washing day. So I take you in the front cabin and show you what I've been doing so far. So here's the washing machine, which is just finished the next washing. Now before I tear that all out and put it on the line, I have to make space on the line. So I take this opportunity to show you around a bit. So let's see what it looks like. There's all the laundry. It takes about 10 minutes for the laundry to dry in this wind. This is my beautiful view. The anchorage is still pretty much the same than a year ago. What you see is the dive tanks, the dive compressor, lovely green water, and that's the coastline. Not much going on at the moment because since the COVID numbers rose so exponentially, Bonaire is now in a lockdown. That means you can drive around at daytime and go for a walk with people from your household, but you're not allowed to leave your home after 9 o'clock in the evening. Kirsten is coming in about a week, so I'd better get everything ready for that. Every time you do the laundry on the boat, you also have to top up the water tanks. First thing I do is open the input. Switch on the feed pump and the high pressure pump. Slowly increase the pressure. Test your product water. Yep, no more salt. Good. Perhaps you might have asked yourself, why is this guy sitting in a sailing yacht in the Caribbean and not working in the office like everyone else? The real story starts 50 years ago. When I was a young boy, I deeply fell in love with ships. Soon I had read all available books on ships, sailing and navigation in my home library. In 1973, Rollo Gebhardt gave a talk on the North Sea island of Spiekeroog. He showed his film of his first single-handed circumnavigation with his boat Solveig III. I was deeply impressed and I decided instantly I want to do that too. In 1996, Kirsten and I got married. As a family of 4, we grew out of the folk boat and bought a Contessa 32. The most exciting trip was my single-handed sail from Niendorf to the Azores. Kirsten and the kids joined me on the Azores. We had the 2 best months of our lives there. We were on the islands of São Miguel, Fayal and Pico. In 2001, I set up my own medical practice and spent 18 years putting patients to sleep to perform endoscopic examinations and procedures. This was as a gastroenterologist. Let me show you what a day at work looked like in my practice. Here you see the inside of your small bowel, the so-called duodenum. And this is your large bowel, seen through the endoscope. A polyp is detected. 1/3 of all people older than 55 years has polyps in their colon. More than 5% of all people develop a carcinoma of the large bowel. All detected polyps have to be removed, since they can transform into a carcinoma. A plastic loop is placed around the stem of the polyp. Then the polyp is cut off with a wire loop. The polyp is then retrieved and will be sent in for histological examination. Now you know how to save lives by preventive colonoscopies. You can now easily understand why I absolutely loved the sort of job I was doing. This is a rather unusual picture of me taken through the endoscope after one of my last colonoscopies. If someone had asked me in all these years what my all-time dream was, the answer would have been, I want to sail around the world. Nobody asked me that question. In 2019, I sold my doctor's office and started full-time sailing on the island of Lanzarote. If you want to know how easy got to Lanzarote, I highly recommend to watch episode 29 on our YouTube channel. I'll put a link up here. Now we are back in the present in the Caribbean. In summer, Kirsten came and stayed for over 6 weeks. We celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary in style with friends on Easy.
Yeah.
So it's an apple cake.
Yeah, an apple cake with pieces in between with nothing.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of apples.
But not all moments at the mooring were fun or romantic. In the Caribbean, the hurricane season lasts from June to December. We were lucky and were not hit by a hurricane, but during this time I experienced at least 6 so-called reversals. This is that the normal wind direction with trade winds from the east changes to winds from the west. This leads to onshore wind in the mooring field with high waves which were partially breaking. I spent several nights on watch behind the steering wheel with the engine running. I was wearing a wetsuit because it was raining so much. One night one of my 2 mooring lines broke, but I didn't dare to jump in the water and waited until next morning to fix a new mooring line. 2 boats were not so lucky, their lines broke and they were washed to the reef. A couple of weeks ago, my old friend Heiner visited me here on Bonaire, and we made a lovely tour to the southern part of the island. Let me show you some of the video impressions of that trip. First, we visited Red Slave, which is a popular dive site these days. The orange obelisk was a landmark for ships to find the anchoring spot. Slavery was abolished in Bonaire in 1863, and until then, salt was harvested by slaves in the salines. The slaves were living in tiny brick huts and could only walk home over the weekend, which was a march of 7 hours through the hot sun. I was really shocked how romantic this situation was described on the information post by the tourist board. A woman would kneel down on one knee while 2 men would give a hand getting the basket full of salt on her head, helping her stand up straight so she could walk away with a heavy load. She would hitch up her skirt, balance the basket full of salt on her head and walk the plank to the boat at the end of the pier to drop the salt. These women indeed looked like mermaids from the sea. Today, the salines are run by an American company. They cover more than 10% of the surface of Bonaire. The work is now done with the help of heavy machinery. Salt Pier is also a popular dive site with a lot of turtles in the shallow water. When a ship is moored to the salt pier, divers are not allowed to enter the water here. For transportation, donkeys were brought to the island by the Spanish. This was in the 17th century. In the days of modern transportation, the donkeys now half of them live free on the island, and the other half live in a donkey sanctuary. So the whole number of donkeys is probably 1,500 animals on the island of Bonaire. The guys on Bonaire just love their motorbikes, and this is what their racing track looks like. Thank you for watching the video. If you like it, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to share it with others who also love the blue water. See you next time. Cheers!